Blackline Brief starts now.
What is up, everybody? Happy Monday. Welcome to another episode of the Blackline Brief. I'm your host, Matthew McKim, and today I have a special guest, Josh Carr, that will be joining me for just an honest back and forth conversation, discussion, debate, if you want to frame it that way, on the official narrative's position. And still, I want to seek more to understand what part Josh fully, because everyone believes different aspects and has issues with even the official narrative side, and I'm not sure yet fully which parts he fully holds to and which ones he questions. And so that'll be part of it too, is seeking to understand what is his perspective and what he believes about the official narrative and what he doesn't. And then my side as well, where I completely question the official narrative and believe that there is at least enough evidence to question the investigation into Tyler Robinson. And that, for me personally, I don't believe that Tyler Robinson is the lone gunman. So, all right. What up, Josh? How you doing?
I'm good. I'm excited to be here. Love having these conversations.
Right on. Thank you for joining me. And I know that back and forth, it got pushed back a little bit with the Candace Owens debate, but I mean, that's understandable too. So I'm glad we were able to get it done today. So first, would you explain what do you believe about all of this and how have you come to that belief?
Sure. Yeah. So for your audience that may not know me, I'm a native of Orem, Utah. I live just a few minutes away from where Charlie Kirk was shot. And I fortunately wasn't there that day, but I have literally hundreds of people that I know who were there that day. And so pretty off the bat, there was reports. I have several friends that said they heard gunshots from the Losi Center. So, immediately I thought, okay, someone's shot from afar. We have no idea who this was. Interestingly enough, I actually was in St. George the day that Tyler Robinson turned himself in. And so I thought to myself, okay, well, there you go. I mean, that's pretty simple. And then he didn't plead guilty. And so I thought, okay, this is going to be a little more complicated. And so I, knowing how the court system works, I thought, well, unfortunately, we're just not going to get a lot of answers for the next, 8 to 10 months until a preliminary hearing. And then we'll see if it goes to trial after that. But that's not what happened. What happened was there were different podcasters who came out, opportunists who wanted to make money off of this and suddenly started leaking information. Some of it was true. Some of it was demonstrably false. And so my narrative started shifting based on the evidence I was seeing in front of my eyes. And it was very difficult, like I think everybody here, to know what was true and what was false. And so at a certain point, I would say maybe February or March, I thought to myself, you know what, this has gotten so convoluted. I don't know what's true anymore. I just need to see what evidence is actually presented in court. And I made the decision on my show to stop speculating about what I thought was true or what wasn't, and instead not come up with my own theories, not based in evidence. Instead, I just said, you know what, I'm going to wait until I get the evidence. And so the preliminary hearing happened. I saw the evidence in front of my eyes. It is proving to me, if you want to put a percentage on it, Andrew Wilson said 75%. I would give it at least 95% for me that Tyler Robinson is the person who shot Charlie Kirk. I believe that he acted alone. Whether other people knew about it or not, I'm not sure yet. I'd be very interested to know, and I'm very excited for the trial where we're going to get even more evidence.
All right. Just a couple of things in the statement that you just said. How do you know that, like, the intent of some of the podcasters, that they were doing it to make money? Like that's their motivating.
That's a fair question. It's difficult to get inside people's minds, so it's a bit presumptuous, but I do think we have to do that to a certain point. The biggest evidence that I saw was I was seeing after the 2024 election, obviously a lot of conservative podcasters were doing very well because we were in oppositional politics. That's how media has always worked. Leftist media is doing a lot better right now than conservative media is. And so what you can see for a lot of these podcasters is their revenue dips down significantly. Their views drop significantly, and that's true for people all the way from Ben Shapiro to Candace Owens. And what happened was Charlie Kirk was assassinated, and you see a massive bump in all of these people, by the way, from Candace Owens to Megyn Kelly to Ben Shapiro and Benny Johnson, all these people, a massive bump because people wanted to see what was going to come of this political violence. and that was in September. In October, you see a massive decline again, where the news has been told about Charlie Kirk. That kind of has gone away. And what you see is that some podcasters kind of stayed low and others shot way up. And it was all the podcasters that decided to start making up random conspiracy theories about this case that shot up. And that has persisted until this day. You can actually see there was a time where Candace Owens specifically started speaking. I want to say it was about maybe the Blake Lively stuff. It was something different. Had nothing to do with Tyler Robinson. You can see that her views went down significantly. And shortly after, she came out with her Bride of Charlie series. And so I think the incentives are clear. I don't think anyone would be surprised that money is a motivator for podcasters at all.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so on the whole Blake Lively thing, so I don't hold to that Candace Owens says. Okay, so like I'm not like following her every statement and every claim and allegation that she puts forth, but I use my own logic and reasoning to come to my own conclusions. What I noticed though is because of her proximity to Charlie and her former proximity to Charlie and TPUSA, and that she has connections to people, and that she was already like bringing out information when she did that. I didn't like it. Like when she did the Blake Lively, I didn't watch it. I didn't want to hear that. I didn't want to listen to her about Blake Lively. And so I don't know that her deciding to do the Bride of Chucky thing is a direct connection, that it's solely based on a dip because she tried something else. I mean, just as a viewer, I want to know who killed Charlie Kirk, and I don't feel that we know that right now, and that there was still so much, especially back then, so much work to be done, that, yeah, I wish she would have just continued on. So I was happy when she went back to actually interviewing, investigating. Well, I know that she went back to doing the backstory of Erica Kirk, but I do find that important too. But at least investigating it instead of doing a video of Blake Lively. For me, I don't know. Did you watch Charlie before? Did you follow Charlie at all?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, you aligned with him mostly on most things?
Mostly.
Yeah. Same here. And so when he was assassinated, I don't know. How old are you?
I'm 25.
Okay, so when were you born? So 2001?
2001. Yep.
Yeah. So, okay. So I was 16 when 2001 happened. This would be like your generation's 9/11, right? Like, do you remember where you were when you found out when Charlie died?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it's in my community. So you're right. It is that kind of level of trauma in a community.
And so for me, doing a podcast had always been something I'd always wanted to do, always. And the assassination of Charlie Kirk, I think, affected all of us in a profound way. Probably different in different ways here and there, depending on the person, but in a profound way nonetheless. And in the wake of his absence and what a voice he was for the conservative Christian right, it motivated me to do something. Right. And Charlie would always talk about this, about being proactive and being disciplined and not being a talker and being a doer. And so it motivated me to start my show. And so it took me a while to get that planned and, get money to get the stuff to do it. I'm sure you understand it's hard if you're just doing it by yourself to just get everything and learn how to do it. But in January is when I entered, the podcasting scene. And for me, following the investigation from the beginning, whether that be the official narrative and the information that was released through, mainstream media or, from Utah, from the FBI, there was just honestly, even before Candace was doing anything about it, just major red flags, in my opinion, with pieces of evidence that they would speak of early on and that slowly continued to come out, whether that be through court filings and then eventually the prelim, and then, to today. And so, yeah, I don't believe that the case against Tyler Robinson is overwhelming. I think it's hard. I don't know how you could be 95% sure that he is the lone gunman. I know that you gave a caveat there that it's potential that there were other people that had foreknowledge or had knowledge, but you're saying that you believe that he planned and executed this all by himself?
Well, I only can make a claim based off of evidence I've seen. So if I saw evidence that someone had worked with him, then I would have no problem admitting that someone worked with him. But as of now, the only evidence I've seen is that he's done this.
What what could you do if the FBI doesn't investigate other possible leads and therefore there wouldn't be evidence to even show you that?
Well, my understanding from a lot of people on your side is that there are podcasters who are looking into this and investigating it as well. So either you're saying that they haven't done anything and that they can't do anything, or
No.
you're saying that the FBI purposely didn't look into certain aspects of this case.
Well, yeah, I do think that they did not look into certain aspects of this case, but because you're not obviously going to derive any of your information from us, right? Like you're listening to the official court documents, you're listening to the prosecution.
I think investigative journalism is incredibly important, and I certainly
Yes,
listen to investigative journalism all the time. My problem is when people just basically make up conspiracy theories. They shoot their credibility completely, and it makes it impossible to trust them. When you go for a month, and again, I'm not attributing this to you, but I'm just attributing it to people who
that's
have
fine.
done this for literally a month, and you talk about a secret meeting between Brian Harple and military leaders and Erica Kirk at Fort Huachuca, which did not happen. There is no evidence it happened. And you're expecting me to believe that you're a credible investigator? I'm sorry, that's just ridiculous.
Yeah, no, my point was that, like, for you, right, you were saying that how you're making your decision on the case against Tyler Robinson is from the evidence, right? From the official investigation and from the prosecution and from
Yes, but
everything that
But to
happened
be
in court.
clear, yeah, correct. But to be clear, I was completely willing to also listen to investigative journalists at the beginning until I realized it was all a grift and that none of what they were saying had any evidence backed behind it.
Okay, there's a lot there because I think it's an unfair characterization to lump everyone in together, to say like all
Well,
people
give
on
me an
this side
example
are
then.
doing it.
Who would you say then on that side is credible or has shown credible evidence that's shown who did it?
No one is without error. Okay. No one is flawless and we're all human. And so people do make mistakes. And I
But
don't
with
agree.
all due respect, though, at no point I've been covering this for 10 months. At no point have I ever put a conspiracy theory forward that was not based in evidence. At no point. So do people make mistakes? Sure, but if you're going to be on air and do this professionally, it's not enough to just say, "Oh well, half the things I said were blatant lies, but half of them were true."
Okay. Hold up. So a lot of what is being done online is going to be this decentralized investigation where someone who is not an official prosecutor or investigator, a lot of these people are just independent journalists. I do agree that people should vet sources and do their best to make not draw conclusions and make claims, right? But so there was stuff we missed. So Candace Owens, I feel, has contributed a good part to investigating the possible angles, which it seems the FBI failed to even look into. And so going back to what my original point was, if you're deriving the majority of your information from the evidence, right, that's only being collected, that was only collected by the FBI, handed off to the Utah County State's Attorney's Office, and then that's the only evidence that you're really, deriving your, information from. If they don't investigate other possible leads, yeah, you're not going to be able to, understand if there was other people involved in the planning, preparation, and execution of it. That was
Yeah,
the point.
I understand what you're saying. First off, I think it's presumptuous at times when Candace Owens or other people say that something was not looked into when they have no idea if it was looked into. Oftentimes, people say this wasn't looked into because there was no conclusion that came from it. It's entirely possible that it was looked into and that there was just no conclusion drawn from it. The other thing on that point, I will say I'm weary of it, but I'm still open to investigative journalism if it's presented in a truthful manner today. I just am not seeing any evidence of that.
I mean, I agree with that. I think a lot of people popped up on the scene and are not helping. I agree with that. I think on both
I
sides.
appreciate that.
On both sides, though.
I agree.
Um,
I agree.
yeah, yeah. What was I going to say? What do you do with the whole Joe Kent thing then? Because that would be some sort of circumstantial evidence that something was shut down by the FBI.
Just what specifically? Because there's a few things with Joe Kent.
Okay, so Joe Kent, was the director of the Counterterrorism Center, and their job the reason why it was created was after 9/11 because of the interagency failures that happened to stop 9/11, right? Like there was siloed information in the FBI and CIA, but if they had communicated and put that together, it was possible. At least it was posited that they would have had a better opportunity to stop 9/11. And so they wanted to do away with that. And that's why the NCTC was created. And one of the main jobs, especially as the director of the NCTC, would have been to look into any possible foreign nexus, foreign ties, foreign leads as it resulted to the Charlie Kirk assassination. But that was shut down immediately by Kash Patel. And he's not the only one that said it. If you want to go watch a podcast with Mike Ritland, who's a former Navy SEAL, and Mike Glover, who's former Delta Force and worked for counterterrorism. He said himself that the CIA and the NCTC were shut down. So that's different sources that say the same thing by Kash Patel.
Yeah, a couple of things on this. So first off, I don't think Joe Kent is trustworthy in any way. I actually think he's a traitor to our country. He openly leaked information about private citizens to Candace Owens. She's fully admitted to that. So just off the base, off the bat, I don't think he's trustworthy at all. However, on that point, at that point of the investigation, Tyler Robinson had already turned himself in. There was already DNA on a weapon of Tyler Robinson. There was, we're not sure exactly what they had found at that point, but I think it's easy to assume that they had found at least some footage of someone who looked like Tyler Robinson or was wearing something that Tyler Robinson would wear. I'm not an investigator. If it were me and I had been in charge and I'd seen all that, I wouldn't be like, let's divert resources to see if Israel or Qatar or Russia or anyone was involved with this. So I don't really find that compelling evidence at all. Again, I wouldn't have looked into a foreign government with all of those things that they already knew at that point. If they had no suspect, then absolutely, why not?
Well, I mean, first off, they wouldn't be diverting like resources that would otherwise be going to the investigation to to the Charlie Kirk assassination. And can you be specific for your audience in mind? What was it that you're saying Joe Kent leaked that was from a private citizen?
So Candace Owens said that Joe Kent, so she said, I have someone in the government who is looking into people, and that's what I'm using in order to vet before I have someone on. So she alluded to it being Joe Kent. We weren't for sure about that. But then recently in her debate with Andrew Wilson, she openly said that it was Joe Kent. We know for a fact that this was used for Mitch Snow, which is ironic since Mitch Snow has turned out to be a complete con man. So it seems Joe Kent didn't do a great job. But yeah, I mean, I would call that let's just assume for a second Joe Kent did do it. I'm assuming you're not agreeing with me that happened. Wouldn't you agree that if someone was the head of counter-terror, if they were doing background checks for a podcaster, that would be some level of treason?
I have to go back and remember like what specifically, because I remember this coming up in the way that you're framing it. It's not exactly how I remembered it. And so
but would you, but again, I understand if you're thinking for a sec, I don't know if that's Joe Kent, but would you agree that if Joe Kent did that would be completely just, I mean, almost jailable, really?
If he leaked what was actually classified information or something of an investigation, but are we talking about text messages?
No, it's that Candace Owens would go to Joe Kent and would say, I've got this person who wants to go on my podcast and be a source. Will you look into them and then tell me if they're cool or not? And to me, that's like completely unacceptable.
That happens all the time.
No, a private podcaster cannot go to the head of counterterrorism and say, hey, will you just do this little work for me on the side? Let me know how this private citizen is. Tell me if they've got any skeletons in their closet.
Megyn Kelly has sources high up in government. So does Jack Posobiec. I mean, it happens all the time. They have sources in government that I'm
not defending any of those people. Completely unacceptable. Anytime someone leaks, and people have gone to jail for doing that, especially when you're looking to a private citizen. I mean,
they weren't leaking though.
Crazy.
He was doing a background check on someone.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, you wouldn't be upset if you found out that I went to my friend in the White House and said, hey, will you look into this guy for me before I go on his podcast? Tell me everything about him so that I can come prepared.
I mean, yeah, when you're saying it about me personally, yeah, I wouldn't want to be the subject
and not only
of
that, but that person should probably go to jail. They should lose their job, which Joe Kent did. He lost his job immediately after because they caught him.
He left though. He didn't get fired.
Yeah.
You don't believe that?
I don't, but it's fine.
Right.
But, yeah, that's neither here nor there.
Yeah,
the point is, I don't think Joe Kent is a credible source. So,
all right. Well, I mean, I do, and I think that some things that happen all the time on a daily basis, whether we completely agree with whether they should happen or not, and that this one person did it and he did it for someone that largely your side doesn't like, that's I think more why there's issue here, because like
Well, I have an issue because Mitch Snow is a con man. Like, it was all a lie. Everything he said was a lie.
how do you know that?
Is there any evidence in the affirmative for what he's done? And is there evidence for Mitch Snow ever being a credible person? Or is there evidence instead for him being a wife beater and a con man in other situations?
Is there evidence that Lance Twigg should be believed?
Yeah, I mean, he had immunity while he was giving testimony, so I think that's better. However, Lance Twigg's testimony is hearsay evidence, and so that evidence would not be admissible in a trial. So if you want to toss that out, I've got no problems with that.
Well, no, what I'm saying is that in large part, all people are flawed. And so, and have a background and a history. And if you just discount all witnesses because of something in their past, I mean, we'd almost never have eyewitness accounts.
Yeah, I think both are important. I think credibility is important for a witness. I also think that there should be, any evidence of what he's saying in that moment. And there's actually negative evidence against what he's saying, and there's zero affirmative evidence. I mean, I want to make sure on this one, you're not defending that you don't think Erica Kirk was at Fort Huachuca with Brian Harple, correct?
There hasn't been proof of that yet.
Okay, good. Yeah, because that's insane. That's one of the most insane ones.
There's not proof, but I mean, there's at least proof that he was down there when he said he was down there. I haven't.
He wasn't. He was in Dallas. He was in Dallas the same day.
What do you mean?
We have his flight. We have flight records of Brian Harple being in Dallas when supposedly he was in Fort Huachuca, according to Mitch Snow.
No, that wasn't a flight itinerary. That was like a book, like a flight that was booked.
We have both the itinerary and confirmation that he boarded the flight.
That Brian Harple did. At what time, though?
I believe it was. I'm not exactly sure on the exact time, but I believe it would not have worked for being in the same places as Mitch Snow. And I also
have to
personally.
Look into that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. We don't have to stay the whole time on that, but I just think that's a good example of just the crazy things. And people say, leave no stone unturned. It's like, that's totally fair, but that was a just complete fabricated story. It wasn't really looking into any lead.
Well, I don't know if it's completely fabricated yet, but there's a lot that would need to have been proven before we could say that it actually happened.
Okay, sure. But so you would agree, and I hear this argument from your side a lot, is that the burden of proof is on the prosecution for Tyler Robinson, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Same thing is true for the Fort Huachuca. So until proven guilty, they're innocent. Like, that never happened unless there's affirmative. It's not the other way around. That's my point.
Correct. I'm not saying, and I'm not saying, and I've never said that she is there or was there. But I don't know. There'd be a lot more that needs to come out in order to prove that. Candace maybe has pictures, maybe doesn't. I don't know. We haven't seen any of that.
I'm waiting for it. As soon as I see it, then I'll change my mind. But I need evidence, like actual evidence. I can't just go off of whatever a podcaster and a con man said one day.
Agree. I'm not going to agree with the characterization that he's a con man, but I mean that if that gets proven, then that gets proven. But okay. So getting back to like the evidence, because you're talking about evidence, what is it that you're positive, or I don't know, what is it about the evidence that gives you such confidence that Tyler Robinson is the lone gunman? Because in these other circumstances where it seems pretty much at the same level of evidence that the 1102 rule, hearsay rule, is for the prosecution, for the prelim at least, there might be more that's going to be coming out in trial. But out of what we're operating at right now, out of the evidence that has been shown thus far, how are you so confident that it's Tyler Robinson, lone gunman, Losi Center, 30-06?
Sure. Again, I'm just going off the evidence. So as soon as I see evidence that shows that he wasn't a lone gunman, I'll totally believe that. And let me say really quick before I get into the evidence, 95% sure is not good enough to execute someone. So at no point have I ever said that we should execute Tyler Robinson tomorrow. I believe it should go to trial, and then that number should get up to 100%. So I just want to put that out there really quick. Okay. And yes, the burden of proof is on the prosecution. I'm totally good with that. The evidence I've seen so far that is compelling to me is the fact that we have DNA on the murder weapon. We have DNA on the thing that was covering the murder weapon. We have DNA on the Dremel. We have targets found in his apartment that have holes in them that resemble a 30-06, though it could be a few other bullets as well. We have motive. and I know that's probably going to be the most controversial part, but I think the motive is sufficient, even if it's not overwhelming. We have different video footage, which I'm sure we'll disagree a lot on our interpretations of that video footage. We also have hearsay evidence from Lance Twiggs, and we have several confessions through Discord, text messages, and a note.
All right, cool. So we'll just go like bit by bit then. I mean, would you at least agree that with all the evidence that you cited, that there's actually still room to arrive at different conclusions than yours?
There is not room to come at a different conclusion of a different person. No, like there's no other person there's no proof that would have that would go on another person more than Tyler Robinson, if that makes sense.
Lance Twiggs.
No, not even close.
How?
His DNA is not on the murder weapon. There's no evidence that he left Hurricane that day. There's no evidence that he ever spoke about Charlie Kirk. There's no evidence that he was on the video camera. Like, it's not even close.
Well, hold on. So he could have been wearing gloves for his DNA to not be on the murder weapon.
But forgot to do it on the Dremel and the towel that was around it.
Well, I mean, nothing. So, I mean, the same arguments that you could say that like would disqualify Lance could easily be the same that could either qualify or disqualify Tyler Robinson, that a smart kid like him was able to do all of this and actually pull it off, but then afterwards actually be the most dumb person in the world.
Can I ask you one question really quick before we get into this, just to clarify your position? Do you believe it's more likely that Lance Twiggs did this or that Tyler Robinson did this? And when I say did this, I mean pull the trigger.
Well, I don't know that a gun was even fired that day.
Okay.
Do you see a gun on? Do you see it? Well, okay. If a gun was fired, I don't think it was fired from the Losi Center roof. Do you see a gun?
Yeah, you can see the gun. I knew we'd disagree on this. You can see the gun. You can see him flip the towel off of it. You can even see the recoil. I've got dozens of friends who heard the gunshot. An officer testified to hearing the gunshot from the Losi Center. I mean,
wait, you believe Bagley?
Yeah, of course. You don't believe officers, but you do believe Candace Owens? Like, where are we going off of in terms of trustworthiness?
No, I mean, what I really don't want to happen is that everything that when it comes back at me, that it's tied to Candace Owens, because she's not my queen. I don't follow everything that she says and does. And so, I mean, I don't know how much you even know about me, so you might not. So, I mean,
I trust someone. Fair enough. I trust an officer who is committing perjury if he lied. Yes.
I mean, do officers commit perjury?
Yeah, they certainly can. There's always a chance that can happen.
You know that in his cross-examination with Nestor, he said that he could see the rifle. And then she was like, wait, on this video right here? And then he goes, oh, okay, no, you can't see the rifle, but you can see, underneath that thing. And she's like, the blanket? And he goes, well, you can't tell that it's a blanket or a towel, but he can see underneath the rifle. Or he can see that there's a rifle underneath.
He got mixed up with the videos that were shown. He's certainly seen it in videos before, but in that instance, it hadn't been shown.
How do you know that?
I think it's a reasonable inference. Considering all of us have seen it at this point, I think it's a reasonable inference.
Wait, all of us have seen what?
All the footage that has been released. Candace Owens herself released the footage of the Losi Center. You can see a gun. You can see the rifle.
Are you talking about the thing that flops open?
Yeah, that's a towel, and it flips off of the rifle. You can literally see it. It surprises me so much that this is like such a controversial thing. You can see it when he jumps down from the roof. When he jumps down from the roof, either he has 3 legs or he has a rifle and 2 legs. Yeah, I mean, you can see it.
Even Andrew Wilson doesn't believe there's a rifle there, right?
Yeah, I'm not speaking for Andrew Wilson.
I know. I'm just telling you.
And honestly, Andrew Wilson. Let me say this about Andrew Wilson. Andrew Wilson didn't know anything about this case until about 2 months ago. So not a great defender of.
Not entirely true. So I can show you clips of him on September 12th saying that he was sent a video from a police officer on 9/10 at UVU. A different angle of a video of Charlie Kirk being assassinated before anyone else. Go check it. It's on the Brian Atlas, whatever podcast.
Yeah, fair enough. He just took a huge break off. I don't think Andrew Wilson is like the great knowledge knower of this case.
Correct. I agree with that. And I agree that he wasn't really involved in this. But I mean, um, in that stream, he's watching and looking at the same really poor quality. What I would say, and what I would appreciate other people saying, and so that's what just when you're saying you can actually definitively see a rifle, it makes me believe that you're not here in good faith, because you can see an object. You don't see a fixed solid 49-inch Mauser though.
Yeah,
It's not
correct.
supposed to
I
be an
can't.
AR. It's supposed to be I'm 5'11", 6 foot. The thing is supposed to go up to my armpit. It's massive.
Yeah, I believe it's along his body. You're right. I should be specific. I can't tell what kind of rifle it is. I can't tell how long it is. What I know is that if you line it up from when the gunman ran away to the shot of Charlie Kirk, there's a perfect recoil that happens on the person, and they happen to stand up and run away with this object at the exact same time as the shot goes off. So, am I making
Josh,
somewhat of an inference there? Yes, I suppose so.
Josh, you can't see a recoil. I've
You
watched
can.
that.
You can.
I've watched.
I can. Yep, I have to. Yep, I have. And guess what? I have dozens of friends who heard the gunshot. So you can say all
Oh,
these
for
things.
sure. Well, for sure that there was a sound of a gunshot. For sure, I agree that a sound rang out that day. But to then directly state that that is the gunshot from the Losi Center, you're making a drastic leap.
I think that it is certainly an inference. I think the inference is like 1% as strong as all the other inferences that you're trying to make about Lance Twiggs or other people have made about other things. That's why I find it so ironic and funny. Is there's no doubt that we have to assume a few things. We have to make some inferences. I've never made the case that that hasn't been true. But to go from like Lance Twiggs was at UVU that day, which like there's zero evidence of, to Josh, how could you possibly believe there was a shot from the Losi Center when you've personally talked to dozens of people who heard the shot at the Losi Center? That's a crazy inference to make.
No, what I'm saying is you've never heard me. I've never made the claim that Lance was there. What I'm saying is that the claims, the pieces of evidence that we're going to go over that you're so positive point to Tyler Robinson, it's just not as clear as you're making it out to be. Like, none of the video can you actually see that it's Tyler. There's no way you can say that you positively ID him as Tyler Robinson.
Yeah, so this is unfortunate, and this is by the Tyler Robinson defense team, and not by the prosecution or the media or Erica Kirk. But I was actually in the courtroom on Thursday, and there were some images released of Tyler Robinson in the courtroom that were not released to the public because the defense didn't want it. And those images are the most clear that I've seen. By the way, that's not Friday. That's not the day where everyone's saying 4K image. I've never said that. I've never said that was appropriate for them to say. I've come out against them. But on Thursday, the day I was in there, they showed the clearest images that I've seen. And it's very true that on the roof, you're not seeing a 4K image of Tyler Robinson. What we're pointing to is that there is a time in which it is quite clear it's him. And then from there, you can then follow the cameras as he goes. And maybe towards the end of those cameras, it's not as clear, but there's been a shot established already where he was clear.
Okay, so I mean, that's interesting. I didn't even know you were there. There's so many questions I have that start running through my mind right now, because no one else has reported that. You're the first person I've ever heard say that.
Yeah, I've said it a million times. I've spoken to many people about it. Again, these are things that a lot of people aren't like. People didn't actually go do the work and show up to the preliminary hearing.
Well,
and so
Brandon Tatum, Jack Posobiec, Graham Allen, Benny Johnson, they were all there every day. How come they didn't say this?
Yeah, they weren't there every day. Benny Johnson wasn't there when I was there.
Yeah, he was there. He was there on Friday. You're right. He's
the
only one that was there Friday, but the rest were there.
I was referring to the people on the other side who haven't done the work to get there. The only person that was willing to be there was Brandy, and then she came out and lied about a lot of things that we both saw in the room together. But and Brandy's a nasty, nasty woman, by the way, like horrible. But these images were clear. I don't really know what else to say. Like, I understand you can't take my word for it. It was
no. Can you just help me? That's fine. I'm not saying that you're making it up. Like, this is what I've always said as well. Like, all I want is some piece of evidence to not have issues. Like, we can go over every piece of evidence and there is some issue. It's not like as solid and concrete as it's being made out to be. And I'm not saying that Tyler Robinson didn't do this. I'm saying that as of right now, it definitely doesn't look like he did. But if that something comes out, especially during trial, like, then he did it. And I'll say whatever I need to say to my audience and publicly that he did it. But so that
I appreciate that.
the video that, yeah, of course, because like, okay, yeah, the video that you said you saw, or is it a still photo or a video?
So these were still photos, and there was also a video shown as well. But and again, this is what's difficult about being in court is the battle between the prosecution and defense was so strong for what could be released that I'm just not exactly sure what was released and what wasn't, since I was like there in the moment, and also just following
Oh,
the
that's
preliminary
true.
hearing, it was
Yeah,
kind of
that's
like
true.
dead to your mind. You know, you mean
Yeah,
you kind of
yeah,
lose things
yeah.
throughout. I do think, and I know again this is something we're going to disagree on as well, but the video footage that we have all seen, Tyler Robinson was positively identified by Lance Twiggs and his parents. Even if there was some doubt, and there certainly was some doubt, the fact that that even came to their lips or their minds is at least some sort of positive evidence, I would say.
Okay, so going back to Lance Twiggs, well, and I don't want to lose track. I want to ask you about the videos and photos that you saw because I want to know at like what time of day are those the clear ones of what was he wearing? So can we check mark that for a second? But
Sure.
Lance Twiggs, all he said was, "I can't be sure," and then on the last two, he goes, "But those definitely look like him." That's all he said. That's all Lance
I
Twiggs
think,
said.
yeah, I'll have to go back. I think there were two
And then he
separate
gets
times that
nudged and
he.
he goes, "Tyler Robinson looks like Tyler Robinson."
Yeah, I was gonna say he says it two separate times. He said that definitely looks like something he would have worn, though I've never seen him wear that hat before. Another time he says that's
For
Tyler
sure.
Robinson. I think it was kind of the inverse of what you're saying. My understanding is he said, "Yeah, that's Tyler Robinson," and then he kind of qualified it and said, "Well, I'm pretty sure that's Tyler Robinson." He said something along those lines.
That's not my recollection at all, but we can go back. Not
Okay.
right now, but like
But
I'll go
I'm
back
just
and let you
surprised that
do it.
doesn't mean anything to you. Like, and the
Well,
fact that or like a mother would say to her husband, like, I think that's Tyler who did that based on the footage I've seen.
where are you getting that from?
That comes from the police documents directly.
From the charging documents, which are conclusory statements, not a written testimony or an oral testimony, anything
Correct.
signed by the mom. So it's like this is what's insane to me is that like anything that we present or that anyone presents on this side that you get it from a source that just is retelling you of something and you present it, it's like no, you can't do that. It's not like verified, validated, or we can't accept that at all. But actually, so in the documents, it's Mike Mitchell. Mike Mitchell's statement was the one being used to reference what the parents said or didn't say. The LDS officer, scoutmaster guy that we know nothing about that didn't write or give an oral testimony back in September, October. He was called back in March when Lance Twiggs was called back in March and given immunity. And that's the video that we see of Lance Twiggs after he was given immunity, which I think doesn't qualify him as a credible witness, but actually would give you cause to question what he might have said initially, why that wasn't shown and why this one's shown after he got immunity. But so
Yeah.
we have no conclusion, like concrete proof that the parents ID'd Tyler Robinson at all. There's just statements being told to us by, from what's his name, Governor Cox, right? Who also said, you do know Governor Cox got on the mic early on and said that Tyler changed his clothes on the roof, right?
Yeah, people. Yeah, people. It's breaking news. It's a ongoing situation. There was a lot of things that were said at the very beginning that were not true. And for anyone, including the podcasters, that they got something wrong in the first few days, I'll give them grace on that. But there's
Okay.
two things on this.
Okay.
The first, I think it's a little dishonest to say that there's no difference between actual court documents or police reports and a podcaster. I think that shows a real lack of faith in our institutions and our police force. I understand I'm in a minority there. I personally believe in our institutions a lot more than a lot of people do. Whatever. The second thing, though, and I think this is much more compelling, is that the defense had every opportunity to bring the mother or someone else up on the stand and
Nope.
say, "Did you say that?" Yep. Yes, they did. I've spoken to so many lawyers on this.
So have I. So
Yes,
have
they
I.
did.
So hold on real quick. So
Okay.
they're not, especially the preliminary hearing, right? It is the prosecution's task to present the evidence. Okay.
Correct.
And the defense can't bring evidence because the judge, the magistrate, the fact finder cannot weigh conflicting evidence.
I understand.
He has to view all things in a light most favorable to the prosecution. The defense can't even do that.
Once the prosecution brought forward that document, then they were able to challenge that evidence. That's the entire purpose of it. They brought up two witnesses of their own that the prosecution did not bring up in order to do that. So there's always an opportunity to do that.
with the forensic and ballistics, right? Like with the DNA and the ballistics.
Correct. Yeah, I understand what you're saying, that they can't bring up evidence independent, but if it is in an effort to take out evidence that the prosecution has submitted, they can 100% do it, and they didn't do that for that.
Yeah, I remember. I'm not going to remember off the top of my head. There was a qualifier, disqualifier, why the parents weren't even brought in by the prosecution either. Because like the same argument could be made, like if the parents made this statement, why didn't the prosecution present them?
Because because they don't need it. That's the whole point. Like, this is a preliminary hearing. That's why hearsay evidence was presented in the first place. They don't even need to bring a parent forward. They don't even need the spectacle of that. This is a 5-day hearing. It doesn't need to last that long. And they clearly met probable cause like easily. And so this will go to trial. This is why, and I think both of us can agree with this. This is like the one thing I think we can agree on today. If it goes to trial, it'll be so fantastic for getting the truth out there, because all these little things that we're saying, this, that, it's going to happen. Like, they're going to go up on the stand. We're going to see Tyler Robinson's parents take the stand, and we're going to get these answers.
I can agree that I agree that it's going to go to trial. I think there's not that I believe that they met probable cause, but I believe that it's going to. Judge Graff isn't going to shoot it down. It's going to go to trial. And that when it does go to trial, there is a potential that we're going to see all the evidence that supposedly exists. But I mean, you're so positive that it all exists. It's just like this tremendous faith in the system that I just don't understand where that's coming from. Yes, it's a possibility, and I hope it does, because it'll totally clear the air. If that, like, Tyler Robinson's parents get up and testify, Mike Mitchell gets up and testifies, Lance Twiggs gets up and testifies, subjects himself to cross-examination, I think it'll definitely settle a lot of issues. But I don't know that I'm not as confident as you that the prosecution is operating in good faith, and that I hope that it does happen.
Yeah, part of the reason why I'm having a difficult time understanding your position is you're bringing up questions to the evidence that's been presented, and some of these questions, may be fair, maybe some of them aren't fair. Maybe an example of this would be DNA. DNA, I think, is really solid evidence that Tyler Robinson did this, but I've heard other people say, well, maybe that gun was just used and it was Tyler Robinson's gun, and so his DNA naturally would be on it. That's all fine and good, but that does not outweigh the evidence itself. That's my question for you. Just because you have a question does not mean that's evidence of anything else.
Well, correct. But okay, just because the bar is low for the preliminary hearing doesn't mean that the prosecution only had to present low bar evidence.
I think some of it was low bar evidence. I think some of it wasn't. They had 5 days. It's not a lot of time.
Yeah, I know, but like almost every piece of evidence isn't conclusive. Like even with the DNA, right? It's degraded. They swabbed multiple parts of the rifle.
But that's a reality. It's not like you're bringing up the DNA. Would you rather have them just not presented the DNA at all if it had been degraded? Which all DNA, by the way, always is degraded to a certain point.
No. So just let me get out about what there's issues with all the different pieces of evidence. And I was just gonna give an example as to the DNA issue, right? They swabbed multiple different parts of the rifle and put it into one sample. You realize that, right? They swabbed the trigger and the trigger guard and put it into one sample, which really made it difficult to be able to say, like, was Tyler Robinson's DNA on the trigger? And I think that was deliberate. They swabbed two different parts of the rifle, put it together, and said that Tyler Robinson's DNA is from the trigger. We don't know that, though, because they put two different samples together.
Yeah, I'm not an expert. Do you have evidence that that's is that not normal, that forensic experts don't pool the DNA like that? I've never heard anything where people have had a problem with that specifically.
I mean, I never really followed every case before, so, I don't know if there's precedent for that. I just find that.
But this is part of my point. This is part of my point. Is there all these questions and the scrutiny that the investigators are coming under, which is fine. But I feel that we're treating this case completely different than any other case where a lot of these things are actually pretty normal.
It was Charlie Kirk, so
totally fair. Totally fair. But yeah, totally fair. But when you look and people are asking for like Hollywood 4K camera footage,
I don't need that.
I'm of the opinion that if a investigation is being underdone and it's just like perfect evidence is coming out of every single place, that seems much more like a cover up than something completely just normal and human, where people act kind of weird sometimes. And the evidence is sometimes inconclusive, like the ballistics test was. Like, why would the ballistics test come back inconclusive? I hear a lot of people they don't want to trust the feds or the Utah investigators, but then suddenly they love the ballistics report that came from the feds.
Yeah, I mean the ballistic report that that they were inconclusive. They were unable to match the bullet to
Right.
the gun.
And if it's a cover up, it's just conclusive. Like it's pretty easy, Like I'm
No,
pretty sure
no.
Israel is capable of making it conclusive, and the CIA is as well.
I mean, also, I mean, I could make an argument to the contrary. Just reference JFK, reference every other, assassination, which clearly was more than what they said it was. Even his younger brother Teddy wasn't shot by Zarhan. Even his son states that. Even RFK states that. But no, they're not going to wrap up the most perfect investigation because of what you just said.
According to you, it's not even just perfect. It's like not conclusive at all.
Well, correct.
Like
but
there's no evidence that's good.
Hold on, I'm only responding to your argument that if there was a conspiracy and a cover up, that why wouldn't they just make it all perfect? And it's because what you had said previous to that is that would be an indicator of a cover up, right? And so like I could, even though we're both speculating about how hypotheticals, what I'm saying is just because it wasn't perfect doesn't prove that it's not a conspiracy. And likewise, just because it's not perfect doesn't mean that it is a conspiracy. And that's not my argument. Okay.
You would just think, I'm just wondering, like, if there was some sort of cover up or if there was, someone else who did this and they're trying to frame Tyler Robinson, you would think like one piece of evidence would just come back as a home run for all those skeptics out there.
Well, it doesn't, I don't know what you mean by home run, but I mean, I definitely just, so even like the chain of custody, like with the screwdriver, the rifle, how it was found. I mean, do you find issue that the FBI had no jurisdiction to be involved in this investigation unless there was a conspiracy? And yet they're the ones that did the entire investigation, 33 hours, finished the investigation, handed it off to the prosecution. Do you not find that suspicious?
It's something I'd like more information on for sure. Like this is where like real, actual, solid investigative journalism would be helpful. But I haven't gotten any of that. Like, I guess my attitude is I love the questions, but I question the questioners sometimes because it doesn't seem like they're acting in good faith. And I hear people talking about the FBI, for example, and I'm just wondering, what evidence is there that the FBI made some sort of mistake or didn't carry out the investigation the way they should have? Because I'm just, again, I understand if you go through the lens of this is all sketchy, that you hear the words FBI and you freak out. But from our point of view, that seems very normal in an area of Utah that doesn't see a lot of crime. There's not a lot of evidence of assassinations happening here ever. I'm not sure that there's a lot of resources here, but I could be wrong, for the state to really handle a lot of that.
They have the SBI.
And the SBI conducted the investigation with the FBI.
With the FBI. The FBI was doing most of it, and then they handed it over. The majority of what Palomina did and Detective Hall did was kind of just overseeing what the FBI was doing. But I mean, to go back to, do you believe that the FBI was forthcoming and honest about Jeffy Epi? I don't want to say his full name. Hopefully you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I get it. No, I mean, probably not. I wouldn't say I'm an expert on him, but
me neither. I'm just saying that, I mean, it's not that we need proof that the FBI has been untoward and dishonest in this case, because they're the ones that did the investigation. They're not going to give us the files which show that they did something. Like, we're at the mercy of their whim because they'd have to give us access to what they did and didn't do in the investigation to even determine whether or not they did or didn't do anything. So the absence of that doesn't prove that they should be trusted. In what I use is like the past behavior and actions of this administration obviously is different than the previous administration, which had its own reasons why you completely wouldn't trust the previous FBI and, presidential administration. But this one has already done things prior to the assassination, which give great cause to question their integrity. No?
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's all it is questions. Like, I just need evidence. That's kind of what I'm asking for. Like,
right.
if you want to question the FBI, I got no problems with that. If you want to see if they did the investigation correctly, that's great. I would love to see some actual concrete evidence on that, not just questions, but it doesn't negate the actual evidence that we've seen on the ground.
Okay. So
I can't just believe something that someone made up. Do you know what I mean? Even if they have a question.
And I'm not. So you clearly have conclusions. Like, you're confident, right? Like you're 95% confident?
I'd say 95 is confident.
That's pretty high. So like, I think it is reasonable doubt is 95 to 99%. It's or 90 to 95. So, I mean, that's a
Like I
pretty
said,
high,
I wouldn't execute him today. I'm excited for a
and
trial.
that's good. And that's good. But the skepticism I haven't made a claim. I don't know who killed him. I don't know what killed him. I don't know who was involved and who wasn't involved. Was it, I've never claimed that it is Israel, but I definitely think that there's circumstantial evidence surrounding Charlie Kirk's life that at least it should have been investigated and allowed by Joe Kent to at least just do his job and just to run down those leads. And it would have, squashed a lot of the questions that we have today. However, the case that's been presented against Tyler Robinson is just wholly insufficient for me to be out and saying like I'm 95% confident that he did it.
Is it sufficient for probable cause?
I think it's sufficient for the state of Utah and Judge Graff to say probable cause, not my probable cause, but yeah, I think that it's going to go to trial.
Well, that's what I want. I want your probable cause.
No, I don't think that they're. I think a lot of the things that point to Tyler, right? So if we're talking about the surveillance video, none of those you can definitively say are Tyler, except for the one that you said you saw, which let's go back to that. What time of day, where was he? What was he wearing? Was he on campus? Was he Eagle Boy outfit or was he maroon shirt boy outfit?
Yeah, he was in a maroon shirt. I don't remember if it was his first, second, or third time on campus, but it was
would
near
have had
the
to be first or second because his third, he would have been in the Eagle Boy outfit.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Yeah, it would have been I think it was the second. That's what I wanted to say.
Okay.
And
around 10 a.m.
Yeah, it was around 10 a.m. and it was, I believe it was him walking outside of the parking garage. I want to say the second time is when he went and spoke to the TPUSA person. Is that correct?
It showed it? It showed him speaking to TPUSA?
No, it didn't. It didn't. I'm just clarifying.
That would have been the time frame.
Yeah,
when
I believe that's what it was. I think it was him exiting that garage to go speak to whoever that TPUSA representative was.
And you could clearly, like, for real, you could clearly see, like, no doubt, that was Tyler Robinson.
I mean, I don't know Tyler Robinson personally, but I've seen him in person. I saw him at the preliminary hearing. Yeah, I think it looked like him.
That's interesting. What was the defense's arguments to not allow that out? Because Friday,
the same thing that it's always been. I mean, for everything, every single piece of evidence they haven't wanted public. So it's the same for everything.
Well, no. From my understanding and speaking to a lot of different lawyers, which I'm sure you've spoken to yours as well, and from what I witnessed, there were certain pieces of evidence that the prosecution was putting forth that would erode his presumption of innocence because it's from their angle. It's like it had this like tilt on it. Like a lot of their documents, it's their conclusions. That they, for the majority of the evidence, didn't even get turned over to the defense before the preliminary hearing. As of June 18th, they gave over what was reasonably available at that time on the first day of the prelim. They go, we gave what we had up until June 18th. Today we have more, but we'll give the rest by the end of the preliminary hearing. But the majority of the documents, it wasn't the actual forensic analysis of the DNA. It wasn't the actual forensic analysis of the ballistics. It was the prosecution's conclusions based on these pieces of evidence, which the defense never even got to see. And so, I mean, yeah, the prosecution's angle in pieces of evidence that they presented under the 1102 rule, which is just very low, I mean, aren't as... I understand why the defense would object to a lot of pieces of evidence being presented, like Lance Twiggs. You think that was okay for them to present a video recording of Lance Twiggs? They weren't able to cross-examine him at all?
Because it was hearsay, I would say that was the only one I would think would be justified in not showing to the public.
Yeah.
Do you? But everything else, I mean, they didn't want to show the enhanced footage that was shown on Friday. There was no tilt on that. Though, it's just footage. It's just footage. Like they're essentially saying, "Oh, this looks really bad for our client. Please do not show the public."
No, it was edited. It was changed in some way. Even if it's just circles and arrows, okay? If it's just circles and arrows, okay, which is what the prosecution said, but I don't know because I wasn't in court, so I have no idea if that's the only thing that they did. But even Kash Patel said that they enhanced videos and photos that were released in the early stages of the investigation. So like we don't know what they did do to this video.
Yeah, I have personal friends who were in there. It was arrows and zooming and things of that nature. It was not AI or anything like Candace Owens has done, ironically. But on Tuesday, this footage was shown non-enhanced in court, and they also fought tooth and nail for that to not be released to the public. So I
Yeah, and I can't get inside the
like
head of the
it was
defense. Like, I
it was
agree
every
that
single thing that they didn't want out there. Every single
yeah,
thing.
I mean, I've also spoken to lawyers that can argue why they did what they did. I also don't agree with everything the defense has said and done, and they've not been. I don't know.
I'm
I
not
don't know.
saying it's definitive proof that Tyler Robinson did it. I'm not saying that the defense is essentially admitting he did it by wanting it not released publicly. What I'm saying is that what the defense believed is that it would not look good for Tyler Robinson. And so I have a really difficult time when people come out here and just say, no, that looks nothing like Tyler. That was definitely not Tyler. When it's like, well, his own defense thinks it looks like Tyler. Even if they don't think it is Tyler, they think it
That's a
looks like
leap.
him.
I mean, that's a leap. You don't know that. You don't know that that's the
Show me
motivator.
any other explanation, and I'll be open to it.
Like I said, so you're saying unedited video. Why did they object to unedited video of him being released
As one example, yeah.
if it wasn't him? If it's not him,
They never said it wasn't him.
they never said that it was.
At no point did they say that this cannot be shown. Like they at no point were they like this would be of someone else shooting the weapon. They just said we just don't want it public. So
Right,
like
but
they had no problem. I guess here let me be a little more clear on
okay.
this. They had no problem with it being admitted into evidence. They just had a problem with it being admitted to the public.
Well, they have to have there's certain bars that have to be met for them to even be sustained in their objection for evidence to not be admitted. And so just because they didn't object for it to be admitted even the letter got admitted, like things got admitted provisionally, even that weren't allowed to be in actual evidence and shown. So like just because they didn't object to it being admitted into evidence doesn't mean that they're agreeing or at least conceding to its veracity.
All right. Yeah, I don't know what else to say other than that.
No,
Like
you're good. You're good. You're good. Um, I hope that during the trial, a lot of this gets like weeded out. Okay.
Me too. And I think it's very, sorry, really
okay.
quick.
You're
I'm
okay.
sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're good.
I find it very informative that you're saying during the trial, because I think both of us deep down are admitting that the truth comes out in trial. And the reason why is because that's where the actual evidence could be presented in a trustworthy way. At no point did you say, I hope that Candace Owens or Baron Coleman or any of these people come out with this new evidence, because I think even deep down, it's not trustworthy.
No, that's not fair. That's a little dig, bro.
No, it's not a dig. I'm being completely honest. I really am. Like I have a hard time believing, if you didn't believe the preliminary hearing, I have a really hard time believing that you would even believe things in the trial if we had this conversation in a year from now.
The trial would be where we will find out everything the prosecution is saying and has. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that I'm not saying that I trust the prosecution. I'm not saying that they have evidence that's going to prove Tyler Robinson did it. What I'm saying is that would be where it would happen. And my hope is that clear evidence, whatever it is, whether it's DNA, ballistics, eyewitness testimony, videos, my hope and prayer for this country, for conservatives, for Charlie Kirk, is that that's where it would come out. Okay. But I mean, have you not seen all of the different trials over the years and how bad the different court systems have completely botched them? Lawyers, prosecutors, defense attorneys, policemen. I mean, like there's more examples of cases that are just totally botched, wrongful convictions all the time, innocent men being sentenced and put to death, and their innocence gets proven after they've already been murdered. So I think there's way more evidence to distrust our government and our institutions than there is to just kind of blindly trust them at this point, because they haven't done anything to restore that trust from losing it. No?
Yeah. A couple of things. I mean, so first off, that is much more rare than it's common, but it certainly happens. And it is a concern that I think people should care about. So I appreciate that. I do have a hard time when people talk about institutions and the feds in this kind of nebulous context. Again, this is a personal story to me. These are Utahns that are working in this investigation. They have families. The prosecutors are good people. I believe that the investigators are good people as well. I've I know people personally who are being defamed by liars online who have large audiences because they're trying to show that there is reasonable doubt for Tyler Robinson. And so, it's not in a vacuum. The court is not really, it is an institution, I suppose, that exists by itself, but only within people that work in it. And so I do have a hard time when we start doubting our fellow Americans, especially when I know them personally. I know if you don't know them personally, it's like, it's harder to trust, but this is my community. I care deeply about these people. I see more damage being done every day by the lies than any good thing that they could have done by asking questions, for example. Like, I guess I just want the evidence. I question the questioners as much as you question the investigators or the prosecutors or anything within the institutions. And it seems like because I'm asking those questions about the questioners, it's like not allowed.
No, it's allowed. I've never said
Okay.
I haven't said anything like that. I'm
just saying in general.
Yeah, my appreciation I'd appreciate that you just judge me based on me and no one else. And that's all I've done with you. And that's all I'd ever do with everyone. Do you find that you can actually be objective given that you actually have relationships with people tied to this?
No.
You don't think you could be objective?
No, I don't think so. I think anything that happens within your community or to people that you know personally, I don't think it's possible to be objective. I don't think it's possible for.
All right, at least you're being honest. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, that's
Yeah.
good.
I don't think it's possible for Judge Graff to be perfectly objective. I don't think it's possible for the prosecutors or the defense or Candace Owens or Erica Kirk, any of these
No,
people.
for sure.
So yeah, just being honest,
That's good.
I would agree that you're probably more objective than any of the people that I just said. However, I don't believe objectivity is one of the top things that brings about truth.
No, for sure. No, it's just a component. I was just
Yeah.
And I'm glad that you were able to answer it honestly, and I appreciate that. So like getting back to a couple things, right? So, because I'd love to go over the different pieces of evidence. And wait, your hard out is what time? What time is your hard out today?
I've got about 20 minutes left.
Dang. All right, let's just hit evidence for.
Sorry.
No, you're good. I know you have other shows and you have other things that you got to do, and I appreciate you making time for this today, and I appreciate you coming on. Okay, so like with the DNA evidence, right? You even said it yourself, right? If this is his family's rifle, right? His DNA would be on it, and the fact that it's degraded, right? In my opinion, right? Points to it being an old deposit of his DNA. It's an older deposit. It's been exposed to the elements longer than some of the other DNA, and that's why it's been degraded. And you would argue that if it was down his pants in 90-something degree temperature that day with hair, leg, and sweatiness, he's wearing a long black sleeve shirt, he's got a backpack, a hat, long pants, and he's climbing up staircase, and he's running. He's going to be sweating all over that rifle. And yet, the DNA evidence pulled from it, the Tyler Robinson DNA evidence is the most degraded out of the other DNA that was contributed to that rifle. And so these are some of the things that make me question the conclusions that are being drawn from. It's like a bunch of pieces are put not connected, but and I forget what, there's a psychological term of that where we naturally draw conclusions because our brain wants to solve problems. And so like we see things that may be inherently not connected at all, but we connect them. You know what I mean? And so like,
yeah,
just because his DNA's on the rifle doesn't mean that he fired the shot, right?
I agree. I think that's why the video footage was shown. I think that's why the text messages were shown as well, as was reported on in the preliminary hearing. And what I'm trying to remember her name. I don't know if you remember offhand the person who was testifying about the DNA evidence.
No, I remember who you're talking about though, but I don't.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. They said, and again, I'm going off their testimony because I'm not a forensics expert,
Yeah.
and the defense didn't try to catch her in her words on this specific point, which is their job to do. DNA evidence can be degraded for a variety of reasons. It has nothing to do with time. It can have to do with heat or cold or what it's touching or abrasions, things of that nature. And so I think the prosecution did a very effective job of kind of just putting that to bed and just saying the degradation is essentially worthless. It's really about the presence of DNA. And I would agree with you that the DNA alone is not enough for probable cause, but it wasn't the only thing shown that day.
Well, so there's only three things that could put Tyler Robinson on the roof with the rifle, which they have to have in order to prove the shot. Okay. They have the screwdriver, right? Because that was supposedly found on the roof, which it wasn't initially reported. It initially was reported to be found next to the rifle in the bushes by a news, like by a mainstream news source that actually had a source directly in the investigation. So it was from a police officer investigating it. So it wasn't them just speculating. They referenced the source that's where they found it. But they realized that, well, I don't know what they realized, but so the screwdriver on the roof. Okay. Then you have this footage, which do you at least admit you can't tell who that is on the roof? You're deriving from the other videos
Correct.
in the
Correct.
day also, which don't clearly show him except for the ones that you're referencing, but that's not even when he was there in the Eagle Boy outfit. So, I mean, even the one that you're stating is clearly him is him at 10 a.m.
Yeah, I know we're going to come across in disagreement, but I think that there's another time in that third time where you can see it's clearly him.
But he's walking up the stairs
Yeah.
from the one that was released publicly, or a different one that was shown that we didn't get to see.
No, from the public ones.
Okay, yeah. I don't want to get bogged down in like a meta
and I've
argument
seen
over that.
I know we're just going to disagree on it, but
Yeah,
I think there's a huge exaggeration of like it looks nothing like him, or like people who have actually deliberately photoshopped images. They're like, look, it looks nothing like him. It's like, well, that's
I don't
because you
agree with
enhanced
that. Yeah,
the
I
photo.
don't agree that people should have done anything to any of the photos to try to enhance it or make it
Thank you.
look more like him or less like him. And I think all that does is muddy the water. And I don't follow or listen to people that do that at all.
Thank you.
But I do think, I mean, even Benny Johnson, but you probably don't like Benny Johnson, but even he said early on, because remember those got released early on. That when he's walking under from the parking lot, he goes down the stairs, he comes under that tunnel. When he's wearing, the long black sleeve shirt, and then he walks up the stairs. I mean, even Benny Johnson said, you can't even tell if this is a man or a woman. He said that on 9/12/2025, that it's so degraded and bad quality. But yeah, I think that I could point out many things in those photos that at least give me justification to like have doubt that that's Tyler Robinson. But okay, so for you, how you draw the conclusion, or at least the position that Tyler Robinson was on the roof and fired the gun, is previous videos and photos of him, which you believe clearly show him, right?
Mhm.
And then the surveillance rooftop video, you believe you see a rifle, and you also believe you see a recoil.
Correct. And one more point that we haven't touched on, but we also have video of him trying to retrieve his rifle and realizing that there's police officers there, so he can't. And he talks about that in his text. So I'm kind of marrying those two ideas.
You're talking about the Ring doorbell footage?
Well, it's not just the Ring doorbell. I think this was shown for everyone, but there's a more higher up camera that shows his car essentially staking out where the rifle was left in the bushes.
You double checked the license plate?
The license, I didn't personally, but the license plate was registered to Tyler Robinson. Yes.
So none of the videos that were shown show his license plate. None of them. And in fact, they were like the one officer that interacted with them was only able to draw a partial plate off of it, even though all of the cameras inside of the parking garage have the ability, like that's one of their abilities, is to take pictures of license plates. Yet that would be such a slam dunk for the prosecution to be able to tie this specific car to Tyler Robinson, and yet they didn't do that.
Well, it's a car driving down a road, so there's zero chance that they didn't have the plate. Like I think we would both agree that if a car drives down a road, there's a camera somewhere to pick up the plate. Correct?
Yeah. Why wouldn't they have shown that one?
I'm not sure why they didn't show it or did show it, but you would assume that they have that image. Correct?
I would assume that they had the ability to get that image, but if it wasn't his car and it wasn't his license plate, then that could also be why they didn't show it. I can't understand why they wouldn't. This couldn't erode his presumption of innocence. Like it's not a doctored photo or video of him. It's a freaking license plate.
I believe that the license plate, the person who is testifying, because they can't just show a video. Obviously, there's someone that's describing it throughout. I believe the person testified that they did see an image of the license plate. As to why it wasn't shown, I don't remember if it was shown or not. I'll take your word for it that it wasn't. That's a very easy thing for the defense to just completely refute in the trial. I'm not sure if they could do it in the preliminary hearing. It'd be a very easy thing to just immediately come out and say, look, I'm not sure the exact procedure for doing so, but that would just be false evidence that the prosecution knowingly put in there. That just seems
Yeah, no,
incredibly unlikely to me. Do you know what I
I
mean?
mean,
Like,
there's a
if you want
lot
to
of
make the argument that Tyler Robinson wasn't in his car,
well,
then
that's
I've
the
heard a
other
lot of
thing.
people make that argument. But the
Well,
idea that
that's
it wasn't his car in the first place, that seems completely, there's just no way.
well, okay. So a couple things. From this is my you can only well, you can do whatever you're going to do, but the conclusions and the positions you hold are solely and wholly from the videos and photos and the evidence that's been presented, right? Or also
Along with the testimonies, but yes.
okay, along with the testimonies, which are going to be all the narrative and position of the prosecution, because that's who's putting
Yeah,
forth
yeah.
those, right?
Correct. But that's where we're at in the hearing
Correct,
so far.
correct. But none of the videos and photos can show Tyler Robinson in the car that is Tyler Robinson, or even that it is Tyler Robinson's car. It's a charcoal gray Challenger Charger, which might be his. I agree, but this is my issue: is that the confidence that it is, even though there's nothing that actually there's so many things that are missing in order to be that confident about it, but you're just so positive that it's going to be shown during the trial.
Well, I just think it'd be insane for the prosecution to show that video when it could just be so easily proven that it wasn't his car. But beyond that, I'm not really looking at the pieces of evidence in a vacuum. I'm looking at
Correct.
each piece of evidence and how the prosecution formed the narrative together. And so I'm going off of the fact that Tyler Robinson himself said that he was in the car trying to retrieve his rifle and wasn't able to. If I didn't have that piece of evidence, yeah, I'd have a little bit more questions on the car itself.
Have the text messages and the Discord chats been validated yet? Or is that another thing that they're going to show during trial?
My understanding is that the defense had every opportunity to invalidate them if they wanted to. They did not.
I don't know why the defense
Whole purpose. That's the whole purpose of the defense in the preliminary hearing. This is like a key point.
A lot of people don't trust that the defense is operating in Tyler Robinson's best interest.
There's no evidence. There's no evidence for that.
Well,
and I find that completely
hold on.
conspiratorial.
All of the things you point out right now. So there's two possible conclusions, right? Either it completely backs up your side that the defense knows and they agree, and that's why they haven't objected, and it's because they know the case and it's overwhelming, and if there was anything to the contrary, they wouldn't object, right? That's one explanation as to why the defense has done or not done things that they've done.
Yeah.
And then there's another explanation, which I'm not saying some big, massive conspiracy, but just that there's a possibility that they're not operating in his best interest, because I don't understand. There's no evidence that they've ever not represented someone in their best interest. There's evidence that they support people like Tyler Robinson all of the time in these court hearings. By the way, I actually think the defense team is awesome. I think they're good people. I looked into their eyes personally, so I've got no ill will towards them, even though they tend to represent really horrible people. I actually think it's kind of noble, honestly, in a way, because obviously they're taking on some incredible heat for doing it. But there's just no evidence of anything nefarious going on with them. I go to Occam's razor. I do. And I know people will criticize that, but it's like, which one is more likely that the defense didn't go against that evidence because it's true, or what's more likely they colluded with some big bad? No, I'm not saying that they colluded. I'm not saying that they colluded with anyone. I'm just saying.
Oh, what are you saying?
Well, just that you're drawing inferences, and that's just a leap in and of itself, that the fact that they didn't do something is proof that they agree and that they know Tyler Robinson did it.
It's not that they agree. It's just that that's their entire job as a defense. And when you know that they're going to present text evidence, like that's kind of like, that's your job. Like that's the whole thing right there. Like your person is on text saying that they did the thing that they're accused of doing. It's allegedly your job to try to not make that evidence go through. And so the first thing you do is you go to Discord and you say, Discord, we need to understand the forensics behind this. Hey, we need access to his phone, all of this. And if you can't prove it to the contrary, you just do nothing in the trial or in the preliminary hearing.
Do you have a good understanding as why the prosecution wouldn't have presented any of the metadata from the Cellbrite forensic analysis of the phone, the Discord chats, like all that's been presented is because all that's a text.
It comes down to our fundamental disagreement, and a disagreement, unfortunately, that you have with the judge, which is that all they needed was probable cause, and clearly they met it. And it's just very simple. All those things that you're talking about, they will 100% show in trial. Part of the reason why I know this is because we have public records of their search warrants, and we can see all the things that they've seen. We can see what they would have seen, if that makes sense. We don't know it's in it, but we can
Who's
see
we?
that they had
Who's
everyone.
we?
I'm just saying those are public, like everyone, the public.
No, you said we have the search warrants from public records requests. Who's we?
We, the public, is what I'm saying. Like everyone has access to the public records of the search warrants.
But you said you've seen them.
Yeah, I have. You can go look them up right now. I encourage everyone to go look it up.
Like you yourself, but then you said we. So I'm just wondering, like, you have like a team and you guys are.
No, I'm saying we, as in we, the public, we, the people. If you just search
Have the
right now on
ability.
Google. No, it's out there. I'm saying it's out. Like, it's not like you don't have to go like do a FOIA request. I'm saying the images of what they have actually searched in the search warrants, they're out there. You can go look.
Yeah, some of them. Yeah, some of them.
Well, but you specifically referenced the cell phone. I'm saying that we can see that they have pulled that. And so the fact that they have it means that they can present it in court. Just because they didn't does not mean that they won't. And indeed, the defense also can present it as well. Again, they did it twice in the preliminary hearing.
We see that the prosecution stated, right, that they pulled it and that it's on a warrant that they did it, right? But you haven't seen anything to actually know that they've done that, right?
All these records are public. You can see when someone pulls a search warrant. I can see that they did pull the search warrant. Can I see what they found inside the search warrant? No, that will come out in trial, hopefully.
Hopefully, I agree. How much time you got left?
And by the way, no, I have no team. This is
okay.
It's me and my wife.
It's fine. Just the way you use the language, I was confused.
Gotcha. No, I just mean the public. We as the public have it.
No worries. I mean, because it's also fair. You live in like near Orem, right? You're out there. There's a possibility that you have connections, and you admitted that you have connections to people that were even there that day, and people that know people on the case or that are connected to the case in some way.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Okay.
And I do, but I one thing I'll just say on this really quick, because, and I know you haven't done this, but because so many people bring up alternate theories, it would be incredibly easy to find anyone in Orem, Utah, and prove that they killed Charlie Kirk based on the way that people talk about this case. And so my biggest problem is that, honestly, I agree with you. You were saying that oftentimes humans take kind of ancillary details and string them together into a narrative. I think that's exactly what's happened with this case. And there's 1,000 theories on one side, and then the other side is the prosecution.
Well, I mean, if that's a true statement, it's true for both, not just for this side.
But my point is that one side is coming to 1,000 different conclusions, and one side is coming to one conclusion.
Well, that's their job. I mean, of course.
But I count myself on that side, is what I'm trying to say. Like, there's not an opposite side of podcasters or commentators that are trying to string their own theories together about why so and so that they don't like killed Charlie.
No, the prosecution's doing that for them. They're just spewing the prosecution's official narrative.
The evidence that's come out that we've actually seen.
I mean, even you admitted the evidence right now has met a very low bar of evidence, right? The 1102 rule, right? And that the hearsay, but then even the evidence that is physical evidence, whether that be the surveillance camera footage or the DNA ballistics or the text messages or the Discord chats, none of that has been 100% shown. And obviously that it will happen in trial. But I mean, if it was in another state, the bar would have been a lot higher as well.
And then they could have met that bar. But I think both sides are true. You cannot presume just because they only had to meet a low bar that's all they have.
No, I don't think that's all they
have. Both
have.
sides are true. I guess I'm of the opinion, based on what I've seen, that if probable cause, if we want to put it to a percentage, if probable cause was 90%, I think they've met it. If probable cause is 95, I'd say, probably not.
Yeah. I don't think that they've met it, but I definitely think it's still going to go through to trial. I don't think Judge Graff is going to be able to not let it go to trial. It's too big of a case, and there's just no way. Let's see. We only have a couple minutes left, right? I don't know which one to go over. You said DNA, targets, motive, the videos we kind of already did, hearsay we did, confessions we somewhat did. So the only one we really haven't touched on is the motive and targets. But I mean, let me just, the targets real quickly, like that doesn't prove that he fired the gun, right?
Correct. Yeah, none of this evidence was shown as like the only piece in the
No,
trial
even by
or in the
itself, though,
preliminary
like
hearing.
that's such a useless piece of evidence. Targets that could be from any time.
Well, I think it's evidence that Tyler Robinson uses a gun, that he's capable of shooting in a small cluster. I mean, I'm not sure. So I saw something weird. The targets were one of the only things shown in the preliminary hearing on Thursday that were not released to the public. But then the other day, I saw an image of it,
Yeah,
and
they were
so I'm wondering.
released.
Okay, originally they were not supposed to be public. So for a long time, there's only a few
We
people
saw
had
them.
seen them.
We were doing it. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I guess I'm wrong. A lot of it was not supposed to be shown. I know there were some mistakes that were also made in the preliminary hearing with what was
Yeah.
supposed to be
Yeah.
shown. But
Yeah.
no, by itself, it's not evidence. But I do think that when targets are sitting in your house, it shows that you can shoot, and the clusters are fairly close together, which I found instructive. And then underneath that are bullets that are 30-06 bullets with political engravings in them.
So, since you were there on Thursday when they went over the targets, do they also have evidence of where he shot those targets? Like, did he go to an indoor firing range? Do they have him on camera? Did he go to an
No,
outdoor firing
they
range?
didn't. No, they didn't present any. It was a pretty quick. It was a pretty quick, just couple of minutes. I think it was when the investigator was going through what they found in his house when they went through it.
Because that'd be an easy thing to go back and prove by the prosecution is they're going to have access to like his phone, his GPS, his computers and everything that they can just walk back when he supposedly went to a shooting range and fired these and enter that in.
This is a great point. Yeah, to my point earlier with the search warrants, two of the most instructive search warrants I found was one. So they got two separate search warrants, one for his car, one for the computer in his car, and then they also got a few for his phone. And so we've got literally the evidence of everywhere that his car and his phone went. So yeah, he could be right about the target. That'd be interesting to see. But of course, what's more interesting than that will be his movements on September 10th.
Yeah, that would be way more concrete than if he didn't shoot his gun in the weeks leading up to it.
To play devil's advocate, if there was perfect showing of all the places that Tyler Robinson went and that it was perfectly in line with everything that the prosecution has said, wouldn't you just say that someone took his phone and his car and did it for him?
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say that. I'd have to see. I don't know. This is a hypothetical. No, I wouldn't necessarily say that. No.
Okay. Yeah, that surprises me, but okay.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's a possibility that like if Lance Twiggs is someone or something that he's not, because I mean, like the only piece of evidence that doesn't have his DNA on it is the rifle, but his DNA is on the screwdriver. It's on the towel. It's on the Dremel tool. He had access to the same gun. He has no alibi for that day. He's home alone all day that day. And that's what I'm saying is that like
I find that so fascinating because I can just come at you the same way you came at the evidence with Tyler Robinson and say, yeah, but of course it was in the same room. It was in the same house. It's Lance Twiggs. How could you possibly think Lance Twiggs did this? It was clear that it was not him because there could be any number of reasons why there'd be DNA on a towel.
Well, that is my position though of Tyler Robinson is that they're like, these things could have been pulled from other places and placed at the scene. These in and of themselves, like we don't have him, like you cannot see from the surveillance footage whether he dropped a screwdriver. And then Officer Bagley's body cam died and turned off, even though Axon body cameras keep a charge for 10 to 14 hours, yet his only was on 27 minutes and selectively died, even though it has a haptic vibration, it gives off a loud beep, and it flashes a loud red light before it dies, yet he can't remember. He goes, I think maybe it just died. And then, oh, what do you know? He finds the screwdriver after his body camera dies. So we have no way to even say that Tyler Robinson dropped the screwdriver on the roof, especially because it was initially found in the woods and then they changed it to the roof. So yeah, I mean the different pieces of I question.
I haven't used the screwdriver as evidence. I don't think that there's enough evidence of where the screwdriver was. So
you realize the palm print that they said was his palm print isn't his palm print, right?
The one on the window that he never touched?
Yeah, they said he did though. And they collected it and then they never tested it.
The prosecution asked that witness, they said, was there a palm print on the window? He said, yes, there was. They said, did it come back as Tyler Robinson's? They said, no. Correct. It wasn't the defense that said that. The prosecution said that.
I know early on, it was touted by the FBI and people on that side that they had that this was a piece of evidence that puts Tyler Robinson on the roof. And then it came out that it doesn't. Right.
Yeah, it sounds like people get in front of their skis on this all the time. I'm not saying that people don't say stupid things, but the prosecution, it wasn't the defense that said, hey, look, the prosecution's trying to get this one on you. No, it was the prosecution saying, look, didn't touch it. That guy who came down didn't touch it. And oh, look, it's also not his. So there you go.
I mean, that's great that they were honest there. I appreciate
But
that
not
they did
only
that.
was it honest, it proved like the same could be true on the other side. Is people could say, well, look, it wasn't Tyler Robinson because that print came back as someone else. And so the prosecution was not just being honest. They were saying, but look, the person who shot Charlie Kirk did not touch the window.
Okay. I don't understand your argument.
My argument is that no one can now say that that palm print matched the shooter.
Right, because it didn't. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
but that was that would have been the argument from people.
That it did match or that it didn't match.
Yeah, they would say it did match the shooter, but since it's not Tyler Robinson could not have been the shooter.
Oh, okay.
So it was pertinent information for the prosecution to bring up. Is my point here.
I think I'm really confused as to why that'd be pertinent. It's not, if it's not Tyler Robinson, why does it matter?
Because of all the theories that are out there. I mean, I think this is one of the
to kind of shoot down other theories.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I just meant as far as the case. My mind space is in the case and the evidence against Tyler.
Yeah,
but,
I'm saying that part of the case is almost irrelevant, right?
Okay. So the key pieces of evidence that the prosecution is saying puts Tyler Robinson on the roof. What I'm saying is that there's still so much room to none of it's conclusive, whether that's the screwdriver. There's issues with the screwdriver, how it was found, where it initially was stated, whether or not Tyler Robinson even needed a screwdriver to assemble or disassemble. They told different stories of whether he assembled it on the roof and then disassembled it, reassembled it in the woods. How would he have reassembled it in the woods if the screwdriver was on the roof? Officer Bagley and him finding it, the DNA evidence, the degradation with, the rifle. For me, that's what I think we were talking about Lance Twiggs, and that I don't know that they even crossed him out as a potential suspect at all. And that most of the evidence that we're looking at least for the preliminary hearing is concerned, doesn't conclusively show that it is Tyler Robinson. I don't remember where we were. We kind of got off track when we started talking about the palm print, and I kind of lost track.
No, it's okay. I'm curious to ask this from you as we finish up, because I have to go in just a second.
Yep.
But you've made it clear that you're excited to see some of the things come out in trial. Again, that's I think
I'm
the thing that
hopeful.
you're hope. But either way, even if the defense did a great job showing it wasn't Tyler Robinson, you'd be excited, and I would too, by the way, because we want to see the evidence on that. I'm just curious as to why you don't think they've met probable cause yet. In general, if you're so excited for it to go to trial, I guess, it would seem to me that you believe it's 0% Tyler Robinson. Is there a percentage you could put on it?
I don't know about a percentage. I wouldn't say 0 because I can't tell who is in any of those photos. I can't tell that it is, and I can't conclusively say that it's not. It's very ambiguous. It's very hard to tell who
and so
those are.
You wouldn't want a court process where we get everything laid out, where a trial could take 3 or 4 months. So then it would seem to me that probable cause would be met and we can move forward with those questions in mind, which is totally okay. But understanding that this trial is going to last 3 or 4 months and we demand every single bit of that footage be shown so that no one has doubt as to whether Tyler Robinson did this or not.
I mean, I think it's important that when this goes to trial, that the judge makes sure that as much evidence is allowed to be out there to conclusively put a lot of these, disbeliefs and skepticisms to rest. So my hope is that it does come out during trial. I'm hopeful that it does. I'm not excited that it's going to. My hope is that it does. I think that based on the rules and the law in Utah, it's a very low bar that, based on that very low bar, that the judge is going to rule that they met it. I don't agree with it but I'm not a lawyer, man. This is just my subjective citizen opinion.
I'm just surprised. I'm just surprised. I would be surprised that anybody wouldn't want more transparency in this way because it's the only way we're going to get it.
Wait,
and
I do. What are you talking about? I'm not saying I don't want transparency. What are you talking about?
No, I'm just saying that in a trial, we're going to get the most transparency. And
right,
so
but you just said that you'd be surprised that someone doesn't Who are you talking about?
I'm talking about the fact that it seems like the motivation from many people is to make sure that this does not go to trial, that Tyler Robinson is completely acquitted because clearly he didn't do it, and therefore no trial is necessary. I would just
No,
think that if but okay,
I
but I'm
agree with you.
confused.
I want it to go to trial. I
And
want
that
to
so
find out.
therefore probable cause has been met. I just want to get
No,
really clear on that.
no, not therefore. I'm saying the only way we're going to get any more evidence based on the investigation that's been done thus far, the evidence that has been collected thus far, the only way we're going to be able to see this is if it goes to trial. And so, like, I want it to go to trial so that we can find out what actually happened that day. Okay.
But at the
But
end of the day, yeah, I understand we want transparency, but we also want justice as well. So if
correct.
you want justice, you're saying no trial whatsoever. If justice is served, that means Tyler Robinson is not standing trial for this, and this is getting acquitted.
No, because I don't think that there's enough there to dismiss this right now.
Okay, so probable cause has been met. We're in agreement.
I don't
Probable cause
know.
has been met, and it's good to go to trial, even if we both agree that we don't have enough information right now to execute Tyler Robinson.
I think, and I don't know how many times I have to say this, based on Utah and the low bar that's set, yes, I think probable cause will be met and it'll go on to trial. Do I think, from my civilian perspective, that the evidence presented is enough to go to trial? No. In fact, it scares me that something like this could happen to a citizen, and this like wishy-washy level of evidence could be enough to go to trial. But I think that will be the only place where we're going to get the answers that we hopefully get, because, we're going to have the defense, we're going to have the prosecution and the judge, and everyone's going to be watching. So my hope is that it goes there so that we can find out the truth and get justice for Charlie. That's my hope.
Okay.
That's it.
That's great. Yeah, I don't even know what to say to that, but
Okay.
I'm glad it's going to trial.
Yeah.
It seems like we're mostly on agreement on that.
Yeah.
So I guess
Yeah.
that's all that matters.
Yep. All right. You got to go?
Yeah, I got to go. I appreciate
Okay.
your time. Willing to come on again, but
Okay.
yeah, and thank you to your audience as well. I know, we have vast disagreements, but at the end of the day, few people are actually willing to hash out the ideas. So
Yeah.
I
And
appreciate people even being here in the background to watch that.
agreed. And I'll just say, like, I really appreciate that you did come on and you did, debate, have a conversation, an honest conversation with me in good faith. And that even though we clearly are on totally separate ends on pretty much everything, that we can at least agree that we want justice and we want the truth to come out for Charlie. And so I appreciate you. And yeah, we can definitely do this again sometime.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Appreciate you.
All right. You too. Later, man. All right. Thank you, guys. Let's get to some of your comments. Thank you for the gift. Thank you for the gift. I'm looking at the time right now, and it's 2:83 because I got a show in a little bit. All right, Michelle, you literally have to believe that this is the blind leading the blind. You can't help people who don't want to see. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Baron Coleman pulled a police report that bomb-making materials were found in Twiggs's apartment in a blue backpack. Tyler had a black backpack. Did he work alone? Yeah, and I think even Baron Coleman, Zach Costello, and I have said this, is that, like, what our position is right now is that here's the case against Tyler is that he alone, that's the issue. It's that they're saying that he alone did all of this from start to finish. And I just don't believe that. I just honestly don't believe that. And that if it is Tyler Robinson and it comes out during the trial, that I think hopefully what else comes out is that there's no way he did this alone. Yeah. And I don't know that will come out because we're subject to the prosecution's investigation, but hopefully the defense is going to be able to mount their own counter investigation and present that in trial. That's going to be where they're going to be able to present it. So my hope is that happens, but I don't know. My faith in the system is pretty much eroded completely. So Not from this case. It was long before this case, and when Trump got on there and was like, are we still talking about Jeffy Epi? And then you had Kash Patel and Dan Bongino get out there and lie to everyone, and Pam Bondi talk about the NASDAQ and the Dow, and nothing ever came out about it. I didn't believe in some of the conspiracies that Trump is for sure on those files. I don't know. I think that there's a high possibility he is. And I think that'd be a big motivating factor for this administration to not allow those pieces of evidence about Jeffy Epi to come out, because him and his friends might be on there, but I don't know for a fact that they are. I think that we don't know because it hasn't been allowed out. And that was this FBI. This FBI did that. And then, Dan left, Dan Bongino, and now he's, spewing propaganda from his show every day, and it's insane. So, Yeah. All right. Let's see. Did I read all that? Tyler had a black backpack. Did he work alone? I think if Tyler's involved, he most certainly didn't work alone, 100%. And I don't think that it's Tyler that fired the shot. I think that it's someone else that was on campus. And if a shot was fired at all, which I don't even think a shot could have been fired from the Losi Center. I mean, with all due respect to Josh, there's no way you can conclusively say that there's a rifle in the Losi Center rooftop individual's hands. And I have no clue what him and other people are looking at when they see a recoil. I have slowed down that footage so many times and looked at it regular speed so many times. I've never seen a recoil from the person laying down. So I don't know what they're talking about, So I don't think that a rifle was shot from the Losi Center roof. And just because he knows people that said they heard a shot, there's no way that anyone said they heard a shot from the Losi Center. In fact, that there's like so many eyewitnesses on camera that are like right next to the Losi Center, and the bang, the shot, whatever rings out, and they point and they go, it came from down there. It came from down there. I mean, there's just so much that's at issue here. Did he work alone? I don't think he did. If he's involved, I think he played some sort of peripheral role, like doing other things that day. Why no reports on this? Too many questions. I agree that there's too many questions, and that there's a lot of there's a lack of reports in this case with any other possible lead or angle. And that's what happens when, and this is actually very common, all right, that investigators, whether that be police detectives, police investigators in local police departments, or all the way up to the FBI, they get tunnel vision. It happens all the time. And they rely on their Sherlock Holmes gut instinct. Like they have, a sense for this. They're many years of experience. Like they can just tell when someone's lying. They've seen this before. The writing's on the wall. And, I think that investigations are led by people. People are flawed and they get it wrong all the time. And in fact, I think that the numbers of how often investigations are wrong are massively skewed. I think that it's massively underrepresented. And that's because in order for it to be proven to the contrary, all the people that are wrongfully convicted have to overturn and win their case for them to be added to that stat. And so even though people are in there wrongfully convicted right now, until they're able to conclusively prove that, they're on the stat as part of being convicted, not the stat that goes to prove that, and go listen to the Stephen Avery case, the Making a Murderer case. They got it wrong with OJ, in my opinion. I believe OJ did it, in my opinion. There's the Jinx case. Go watch the HBO documentary into that guy. I forget his name. Is it not Durst? Anyways, the Jinx documentary, that guy, because he had money. There's different tier systems to our legal system here, which if you have the money and the connections to have high level representation and lawyers, you can literally get away with murder. It literally happens all the time. So Yeah. And I don't believe that the defense, I don't know. I don't think that there's enough out right now for us to know if the defense is actually representing and defending Tyler Robinson to the best of their abilities right now. I don't know. I think that it seemed like Josh still doesn't believe I'm in good faith. It seems that in a lot of my responses, he thought that I was illogical, contradictive, and that he questioned how I could hold the positions that I held, and questioned how I could hold this position at the same time holding this position, that they seem to be a contradiction when they're not. And I don't know. I felt like I explained myself numerous times, stating the same thing, but it wasn't sufficient. I don't blindly follow any podcaster and any piece or single piece of evidence. It's the totality of the circumstances in this case that have me arriving at the position that I am in right now, with the skepticism and the doubt that I have about the case against Tyler Robinson. And so, but at least I'm honest that if anything ever comes out to prove me wrong, I'll admit it, and I'll be on the train, so at least I'm honest enough to say that. All right. He's completely disingenuous. You only have to hear him say, I definitely saw the gun in the Losi Center roof video to see how that is painfully clear. I won't say anything. One of my goals in this was I wanted to have an honest conversation. I didn't want it to be a formal debate where there's like a winner and a loser. I wanted to try to bridge the gap between someone on myself on this side and someone on that side. I wanted to understand if people are genuine and honestly hold these positions in good faith. And then I wanted to discuss the different aspects of the case. And we didn't even get to everything, you guys. That's why I'd even love to continue this discussion with all of you. There's so much more about the DNA. One of the things that he didn't have on here would be the ballistics, the targets. Tyler Robinson was a bow hunter and a fisher. He didn't even like to shoot the gun. That was his younger brother's modus operandi. Tyler Robinson was a bow hunter and a fisher. So does he know at a basic, level how to fire a gun? Yeah. We didn't get to the motive. I think that there is no proof of a motive. The only proof you can say of a motive is going to be Lance Twiggs's testimony and then the stupid text messages and the Discord chats, which we have no evidence that those are real and not faked. The videos are full of problems, all the videos. And I found it very interesting that he said that there's a video that he saw that day on Thursday that no one else ever reported about, which is really weird. But also that video that he claims he saw that conclusively shows that it's Tyler Robinson is the 10 a.m. Appearance on the Losi Center rooftop. That doesn't prove anything. If he was there scouting out the event as a scout for whoever the actual shooter is, like Lance Twiggs or someone else, if Tyler Robinson is part of this, like we believe he is, even if he didn't shoot Charlie Kirk, I believe that he's part of this. I don't believe that he's innocent of everything. I think that there's clearly enough to prove that he's connected to this, but same with Lance Twiggs. But the 10 a.m. appearance on UVU does nothing. It does nothing to prove that he shot Charlie Kirk. The only piece of evidence, surveillance footage that could do that would be the afternoon footage of Eagle Boy in the black long sleeve shirt with the glasses, the hat, the backpack, and the pants. And he had nothing to say about the sweating down the pants. How is his DNA the most degraded when he freaking had this rifle stuffed down his pants, for 15, 20 minutes before he supposedly, climbed on top of the Losi Center roof and assembled it? There'd be sweat all over it. And there wasn't. So that's sus. But the one video that you need to be clear and the photos that you need to be clear is the afternoon video. Okay. The 11:45 to 12:20 4-ish, right? The Eagle Boy outfit, when he walks down the steps, he bends both legs. He supposedly has a rifle down his pants, but where's the other half of the rifle? If you go look on my X, even though the rifle's 49 inches, okay, I can't show it on here because we're alive and I can't show an image of a rifle. The two different pieces, when this gun breaks down into two pieces, it's the barrel and the action, right, component, and then it's like the wooden component of the buttstock and the grips of the gun. It's not like it's 49 inches and then you break it apart and it's 24.5, 24.5. Each piece overlaps like this, okay? When you break it apart, it's like 30 and 30 inches. They're massive still, okay? Because they overlap one another. They feed into one another, okay? They don't like start where the other one leaves off. They overlap. So each piece is massive, and there's no way it's down his pants. He bends both legs at different points. There's no way the other half of the rifle, which they say is it's disassembled. They have to say that because they say he assembles it on the roof. Well, and where's the other half? It would have stuck out of the backpack. There's no way it's in the backpack. And this is, I wish we could have had more time. Hopefully we can have another conversation, because we didn't really get to go through the evidence, just like Candace Owens didn't get to go through the evidence with Andrew Wilson. So, but I mean, I definitely think that it was a good conversation. I think that we came out, I think that we fared better, but yeah, hopefully we didn't even get to most of it, to really break each piece down. I think we would need 2 to 3 hours. I don't know if his schedule will ever permit that. He has lots of shows and other things that he does. Maybe if we do it on the weekend. All right, next one we got here. Tootsie. Good job, Matt. It shows immediately when they are trying to get to the truth or just pushing the Fed slop narrative. Thank you so much, Tootsie. Thank you for the gift. Tons of questions with this person for me. Research time. Yeah, Granny, I know. Connections abound. I don't know. I gotta. Yes, lots of questions. Lots of questions. Matt, was he invited by Erica Kirk to the pre-trial? That's a great question. That's a very good question. You have no idea how many questions I wanted to ask, but with limited amount of time, and I didn't want to go personal. That was one of the things I asked of him, because one of the things that happens in X Spaces when you're debating the evidence, people from Gary Melton's camp comes in and just starts attacking you personally. Like one of the arguments, this guy, I think it was Sean Campbell, actually gets on and is like, oh, you had Mason Lemmy on your show. You didn't do your research into him, or Matt Tootsie, or Mitch Snow, or Stu Peters, instead of debating the evidence. And I can't believe he holds the position that he does with Mitch. There's not conclusive evidence that Mitch is a con man. There's just not conclusive evidence of that. There's not conclusive evidence that he lied. He was clearly there that day. We just don't have proof of what he saw. We don't have proof that Brian Harple wasn't there. He didn't even know the time of the flight and whether that could cancel out his ability to be there or not. Yet he's saying that he's positive that the whole thing's a lie. Wow. I mean, in order to say that, shouldn't you at least say that that this itinerary, this boarding pass or whatever, this flight manifest, is it at least during the time that he's supposedly being spotted at Fort Huachuca? I don't believe that incident and that event has been proven to be false. Not at all. I haven't seen pictures to prove that anyone was there, but they haven't proved Erica Kirk didn't give an alibi. Okay. Neither did Brian Harple. They gave false alibis. They gave BS partial alibis. That's what they gave. Erica Kirk gave a photo of someone else's kids, and it's for the wrong day. It's for the 9th. It's the morning of the 9th, and the whole Brian Harple thing. like, if you weren't there, it'd be so easy to prove it, man. Especially these people, because these people are always surrounded by people. They're always surrounded by people. Their phones, they have multiple phones. It'd be easy to prove that he wasn't there, and yet he hasn't. So I don't know what's up with that. Thank you for the gift. I think you walked him back enough times with the knowledge you do have. You know more details than he does, and he had to walk back on some things. Yeah, I agree. For sure. Thank you. Thank you for the gift. All right, you guys. Tonight, I got to check and see. I have to check and see what time is Baron Coleman going live today. Oh, he's live right now. All right. I'm going to set my live tonight for 6 p.m. All right, you guys, I have a lot of good stuff we're going to go over tonight. We're going to actually break down the text messages that were released. We're going to go over what Brian Harpole said. Well, Brian Harpole or Dan Flood. Okay. And then we're going to break down the UV review video and the Adam Bartholomew video. And we're going to look at parts of the Sean Ryan, Brian Harpole interview to piece together whether the security team did everything they should have done that day. And we have a clip of Baron Coleman covering a security member following around Nate Walker all day instead of protecting Charlie Kirk. So that's going to be at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, which means I need to hop off and get some things done. And oh, wait, hold on. Let me see. Wow, so many people left already. Dang, you guys, people just leave. Can you guys do me a favor and hit the like and the subscribe? I really appreciate it. It's the best way to help support the channel. Also, to help get this video out to other people, can you write a comment, throw an emoji, and hit the hype points for this video? I really appreciate it. All right. Let me see. All right. Maybe we just stick to the normal time at 7 tonight. And then because I need to go to the gym. And tomorrow I'll wake up early and go to the gym so I can go earlier each night. And Thursday I'll get to go really early because Candace and Baron's not going Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. And so I can go earlier in those days. But I'll keep you guys posted on that. All right. All right, you guys. God bless you guys so much. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'll see you back here in 3 or 4 hours. Oh, 4 hours. I'm going to go to the gym. We'll do it 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. See you guys tonight. Bye. God bless.